Hey guys, welcome back to Bayonetta. Um, last time we managed to break through chapter 3, and today we're basically going to be trying to complete chapter 4 and possibly chapter 5. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully I don't lose too badly to this enemy. I switched towards Legend of the Hero of Hyrule's costume. Kind of like it for her katana. Although I believe if you use the katana, it does change to the Master Sword. Although I could be wrong. Now, basically, this being is conversing with somebody. Now, what he was talking with the light, I guess you could kind of think of it as a sort of hologram of sorts, was that basically the left eye and the right eye, the artifacts that the witches and the lumen sages die for, kind of keep the balance of all three worlds. So there's always an understanding that neither the demons or the angels would try to ever take these eyes, because taking both of them could lead to catastrophic events. But apparently, whoever this benefactor is that convinced this all-powerful being to basically wake up and help him in his quest to get these eyes must be repaying him in some way, in some aspect that they're willing to fight for him. So Bayonetta, they apparently need Bayonetta, which is kind of understandable since she's one of the, or maybe the last Umbra Witch, in case John isn't, to survive. And it's clear from by now that they don't have both eyes. They probably still have the one eye that they always had. Although where the second eye is, nobody's really sure. Ah, come on. Now, this guy is one of the cardinal virtues. So basically, there are 4 virtues, at least in this game, that are introduced. Now, I should be paying attention, so it's going to be difficult to talk, but basically, he is the virtue of Fortitude. Each of these virtues represent an aspect about human life, basically. Or at least ideologies that humans tend to believe are needed for a perfect being. Ironically enough, they don't behave in that aspect, which is pretty bizarre. Kind of shows how warped these beings are. Whether they were always virtues, it's not clear. It would be interesting if there was ever a Bayonetta game where you kind of see like flashbacks, like how these beings were when they were newly created. But for right now, we're in a fight. Bayonetta needs answers. She wants answers, and these guys are basically the best chance for her to understand about her past. She kind of has an idea like, oh, the Umbra Witches are gone at this point. But she still doesn't completely understand, like, why is she fighting? Why are these angels after her? And for right now, the idea in this fight is do damage to the heads, and then later on, these platforms will appear while you're using Witch Time. So you have a limited amount of time where you're meant to basically traverse the floating rocks, try to get towards the virtues, and basically try to behead the dragon's heads. As you can see, even though they're very powerful angels, they are the same as angels. And this is basically what happens to all the angels that Bayonetta defeats. They are dragged to Inferno, where they are devoured by demons, possibly even tortured. Pretty crazy when, although you have to consider, that's basically what happens to Bayonetta. Whether or not she goes to Paradiso or Inferno, so it is what it is. But I mean, that's still creepy. that this all-powerful angel is basically going to be lunch for some demons. Alright. So you have to be careful. There's not one wasted second. You can't take a breather. You have to continuously fight. You can launch these stone pillars, those little stones that he coughs up back at him. Although it's difficult. Now that move is very cheap. If you don't see it right when he's about to execute it, you will take a lot of damage. So it's best not to. Oh man, I'm doing poorly. Already lost half my health. That's not a good position I am right now. Although, I'm not at my worst. So it's not like I'm in complete danger. Where's the sands of time? Oh, great. Gotta be kidding me. I thought the sands were right here, but I guess I was wrong. Unfortunately, Witch Time is not activating for me. So you have to be careful here. Because you have to go through lava, you have to be fast paced, so be mindful of that. Oh boy. His head is creepy. It's backwards as well. Although those faces might not be their skin as we've seen, since they can be detached by some angels. It's very possible that they basically give themselves that image to make themselves look all holy and all that. But to be honest, they're just as bad as demons. I mean, in terms of appearance, while their personality is not, it's not something to write home about. Okay, you have to do a certain amount of damage before you can grab their heads and basically peel them off. Oh boy. Yeah, it's a pretty difficult battle. It's just memorization, figure out each boss's patterns and try your best to survive. Now let's see, he's going back up, so I'm assuming one of two things is going to happen. Since he hasn't broken the pillars, he is not going to go to the segment where he basically makes them float. At least not yet. Had I stayed on the ground, I would have burned, so you have to be careful with him. Yeah, but this is a pretty morbid way to die. Like, you're slowly getting beaten up and having parts of your body just broken off. But at the same time, that also improves Bayonetta's character. So she's not a typical protagonist. She's going to do what needs to be done. And again, those demons are dragging him to hell. Or Inferno. It's not called hell or heaven. It's Paradiso, paradise, or Inferno. Because that's respectively humans, that's where they're going. Although, does that make them good or bad? I don't really know. It's based on your perspective. So as I said, we go to Paradiso and yet we don't see any dead humans there, so but we do see those angels, so it's kind of why I have a belief that any humans that do go to Paradiso are turned into angels. Oh boy, now he's gonna headbutt you. Hit the red jewel on him. You can basically hit him any area, but just hit that one area. He will hit bonk you, and there are spikes he's coming off. However, keep fighting him. Okay, at this point we are allowed to summon our demons, or at least parts of their limbs, to help us in battle. So it's pretty epic. Oh boy. This is all taking place 1 millisecond, so it's pretty brutal. So no witch time. Consider the fact that you cannot use witch time. You must dodge every move perfectly. Every boss has to be defeated with a climax, so you have to defeat them in that manner. Now we might actually see another of her demons being summoned. Whoa! A vulture of sorts. A demonic vulture. But basically nothing good's gonna happen to this angel. Oh boy. He is getting pecked. Wow, that's like getting stabbed multiple times. Ah. Yeah, this is pretty gruesome. Pretty brutal. As you can see, she is basically throwing all these rocks at him before deactivating Witch Time. But as you can see, even though part of his face, or quote unquote what looks like his face, is damaged, the face itself is stone, while his actual body seems to be like some disfigurement of sorts. Bayonetta is very powerful, although it's sort of implied that her power comes not from her herself, but from something within her. Although that is also incorrect, as Bayonetta is actually that strong. And her power might come for the fact that she comes from a lineage of Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches. So it's pretty interesting. It's also always made me think, could she have potentially been a Lumen Sage, since she does technically have the powers of an Umbra and a Lumen? Like, could she have somehow been able to follow that path had the Lumen Sages gotten hold of her? Who knows? Maybe they would have killed her. But that's basically it for Chapter 4, the Cardinal Virtue of Fortitude. Took a lot of damage, but overall, I guess I didn't do too badly. Unfortunately, I did do worse than my own record, which is a huge shame. But now some weapons are good for combos, and some are not. So if you want to get, pure platinum awards, you might want to consider what item is the best for each scenario. Wow. You can be pretty patient in looking for those big ones with the large crowns, but they're pretty hard to find. They're pretty rare. Unless you decide to take like 20 minutes, you just find them. Let's see. Fortunately, since this wasn't a chapter, I didn't get many extra bullets. But I think I got enough for at least a blue witch heart. And some halos. Alright, didn't take us too long to beat that boss. So I think I'll continue onward for a little bit longer for chapter 5. Chapter 5, the Lost Holy Grounds. So maybe this is, I'm assuming the Lost Holy Grounds might be referring to either the Lumen Sages sacred areas, or maybe even the Umbra Witches, who knows. Since we're in Paradiso, it's pretty safe to assume it's most likely the Lumen Sages. Although, it's possible some Umbra Witches lived in Vigrid or near Paradiso, just to keep an eye on things. The Galactic Bounty Hunter costume, which is Samus Aran. Looks pretty nice. Doesn't have as many changes, but it does change your bullets. So, that in itself is something. Now, I believe I got a weapon in Chapter 5, although I don't remember which one. I want to say it was the other gun, so I might switch my Scarborough Fares for a much more powerful guns, although they're not as good for combos. The Lost Holy Grounds. Now, if you thought the previous chapters were difficult, this is where it gets brutal. It is much more difficult, and basically you can die from anything, from falls, from enemies, and this isn't hard. It's even more difficult in Ultimate Climax. So yeah, I believe these are the guns that I get. I also believe I get the whip, although because I'm not sure, I'm going to withhold from using them. But I will at least switch out the guns. Now, you only get one Onyx. You only get one Onyx Rose. If you want the second pair, you have to buy it from Rodon. So I have both of them. So they're not as fast, but they do deal more damage. while I can also use my weapon. So you can see she doesn't shoot multiple bullets. She only shoots one. So if you want fast approach and very a very strong fire weapon, these are basically for you. Okay, let's continue. I recommend some type of mid to long range weapon. Now, as you can see, you can die, so be careful here. Ah, goodness. You can't actually move during that frame, so if it falls, you fall. You can just, you know, skip those guys, but as I said, as I had to remind you, skipping them, you skip whatever award you get. So Umbran so yeah, training ground room. So apparently the Umbran witches did at some point live here. I don't know if this is still Vigrid, however. It might not be. It doesn't look like it. It looks pretty ominous. Let's see. There is a powerful barrier here, but something on the other side is giving me a strange sense of deja vu. So these are the Umbran training grounds. It's fair to say that Bayonetta at some point must have walked through here. Unfortunately, there's a strong barrier that we apparently can't go through. Whether it's set up by the Umbras or by the Angels, we don't know. But I guess the only way to go is up. Now, this is where these two badasses are introduced. I've been having to deal with them, and personally I've been trying to avoid them as much as possible. But not anymore. Now I have to fight them multiple times. And these are not even the strongest versions of themselves. Second sphere, grace and glory. They are virtues. And you dodge immediately. Oh, goodness. Now these guys, I guess the katana is the most useful weapon. Although, pay attention, try to dodge immediately because they will automatically strike back. Oh boy. I should have changed my weapon. Actually, let me do that right now. I believe I can switch in Onyx. There we go. So there we go. I get a little bit more firepower for my legs. Although I sacrifice speed. But I guess these guys who are known for speed you're pretty much gonna be dodging a lot. There we go. The other reason I use the Onyx Roses in this scenario is because instead of bullets, you can summon your fiends, your demons, to fight for you. Now you can use this weapon, although it's much slower but deals more damage. So, oh boy, 3 at the same time. 2 was pretty bad. Was pretty brutal. Gotta stop saying that word, brutal. Which is was very difficult. But now I have to fight 3 of them. So yeah, it is just in hard modes. In Infinite Climax, it is very hard to get anywhere in this game. Oh boy. Okay. I can use my... Oh, never mind. I guess I use one of my demons. Okay. Man, I hate this torture type because it hurts my palms a lot. But it's well worth it. I mean, you can use your finger, but you're not going to get results. Okay, let's see. One more. I'm not making as many mistakes because I have a block ability. So, if I can block them, I have a chance to use Witch Time. Oh boy. Come on! Oh, they're such a pain! But I like their design. They're pretty cool. There we go. Luckily, you never have to fight like 5 at the same time. 3 is the max. But that is still very hard. There we go. Silver medal? Oh, come on. I keep taking a lot of damage. I don't know how they expect me to not take so much damage. Whoa. Glitch. Alright guys, but let's see what else we can find here. Ah, I believe this is where we'll get a cutscene. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna skip these guys because I'm not fighting them. Oh boy, no. This, if you're not gonna kill them very quickly, I suggest you just skip them. Just skip them because they will kill you. Alright. Huh. I'm pretty sure there's something gonna happen right here. So basically, guys, I'm gonna end the episode off right here because I have a feeling either we're gonna find an enemy or there might be a cutscene. I don't recall. But anyway, that's pretty much for today. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.